The integrity is so good that we don't need it?
No, it's been moved down to the neighborhood purpose grant line item.
What?
It's been moved down to the neighborhood purpose grant line item.
We still need a formal motion, you know, I'm in the chair, so I can't make a
No, there was already a motion and second,
Yeah,
but now I just wanted to have everyone's
No,
input
to the amendment.
Right, it has, right, that's a good point. There has not been an actual formal amendment to the motion.
No motion to amend.
Motion to amend. I just wanted to get everyone's input and then to see, that way we can run through this once as opposed to having an amendment, motion to amend, and all that. So far I got 2,000 moved out of general outreach. Does that sound?
That was my suggestion, but it's not a motion. because the chair
Right,
can
but does
make-
that sound like everyone,
I think not to exceed 2,000.
it won't do that, you don't do that, it's 2,000.
You just make dollars.
So you just make it
It's just-
if we don't use
Yes.
It's just an initial.
I will
estimate.
make a motion.
Wait, before you do that, is there any other suggestions to change the way I've outlined this? Yes, Glenn?
So a few weeks ago, when they talked about the budget, there was a section in that email about the elections component. So you really should be aware of that. It doesn't sound like you are. One of it was 10% of your outreach, 10% of your budget had to be election outreach. So that's 3,700.
Okay.
You're well packed, and some neighborhoods don't do 10,000 outreach, in fact, most don't. So you're already there, you just need to move it into the elections line to make them happy.
Okay.
The other thing that they said is to provide $250 hospitality for the polling place operations.
So we're talking, that's not part of the 10% of your overall budget?
That 10% is outreach, that's you doing outreach to your stakeholders. This is for on election day expenses. And then recommended, I don't think it was mandatory, but to put, I think it was $200 for board retreat. But I think there was a word optional there, so if you don't put that in, they probably won't pay you for that.
You can make it as small as stop.
If you wanted to do, I'll just give you a quick answer to your questions. The election's gonna be run by the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment with back office support from the city clerk. So it'd be very similar to the way it was last year, where there would be an independent election administrator through the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, working with your election committee and your outreach committee and all that. The department is not going to be doing specific funding for outreach, and you're right, there's no rollover monies for this time. So that's what that 10% recommended was for, and can you just take
It's recommended, but now, or what, it was mandatory.
Take a look at the language there, because I've heard it both ways. But since you have 10,000 there already, I would just say put it under the elections, put it under the elections outreach component is my recommendation. So it would be very similar. The cost of the polling place, the department will cover the first $200. If your polling place runs more than $200 because you go overtime or the actual cost, some of the polling places were free. Like you did it at the rec center, right? I think that was free as long as you didn't go overtime. So you don't have to worry about that. But just keep that in mind as far as that.
Okay.
That part of it. And the other thing is if you wanted to do online voting, some neighborhood councils want to do that, you would be responsible for that cost.
Great.
Let's not open that can of worms.
So would it sound better then, as a consensus, to make it 4,000, to include the 10%, which is 3,700 plus the 250?
But we just need a motion.
Yes.
Is this part of the recommended changes that have not yet been approved?
This is just discussion on the motion.
We're talking about recommended changes, recommended dollar amounts.
Yeah,
Is that part of the documents that are still in the works,
Yeah.
still being processed? So there has been no final version?
No, we haven't, we've just been discussing it, as I understand it.
But right now, there is a motion to approve. There are no amendments on the floor, right?
I'm just having discussion.
Just
so that when
discussion as to what
motion
amendments
to
may need
amend,
to be necessary.
It'll be clean, and we won't have to have more chatter back and forth on this. I just want to.
I guess the question that Brandon's putting forward, is there any other changes other than moving $4,000 into a subtotal of outreach for elections. I think that would be the best.
There's an
way to do it.
elections line item.
All right,
That will be
so-
4,000, so general outreach will go from 10 to 6.
To 6.
Is there any other recommendations when somebody makes the amendment to, motion to amend? Anybody? Okay. So who would like to make the motion to
I will
amend?
still make that motion.
Okay, but 4,000?
4,000.
Okay, I guess you have to say the whole thing.
Okay, I move that we transfer $4,000 from general outreach into the elections subcategory to cover the cost of elections next year, as comply with development requirements.
Great. Do I have a second? Or does Anthony have a second? Eric, seconded by Eric. Okay, any discussion? Well, since you're the maker of the amendment, I guess you have to ask.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, signify by hand.
So now this is amending the.
Yes, this is amending.
Okay.
This is to amend the motion, this is to amend the budget that we're then subsequently going to vote on.
All right, it looks like it's unanimous.
Anybody against?
Did somebody abstain?
No.
One abstention?
Yeah.
Joel is a. Okay. So
Now on the main motion, as amended.
All those in favor of the motion now, which includes the amendment, please signify by raising your hand to approve. Okay? Unanimous? Yes.
Okay, looks like
All
it's
those,
unanimous.
well, let me just for,
Anyone against?
this is unanimous.
Can I ask anything else? You got us all where you want.
Is it unanimous?
It's unanimous.
I was gonna say no,
No,
abstentions.
no.
Okay. Great, thank you guys.
Yes, over here, voting.
Thank you very much. All right, now,
All right, hi there.
Hi. Are you ready?
by the way, thanks Glenn.
Oh, we flew by you a half hour.
Yeah, no.
But we'll back up, because we're doing good. Yeah, so we're gonna call on Megan Cottier for a report from CD 12.
Thanks. I apologize. I had a conflict meeting before this, so thank you for accepting my report later.
Second in your heart.
The most exciting thing I think that's happened since the last time I was here is the city council and the mayor did pass the budget for the city of Los Angeles. The total budget was $7.7 billion, and we closed about $150 million budget shortfall. We did fund council member in looking at this budget, as you all know, he's a co-chair or vice chair. Of Budget and Finance Committee. He's always been a strong proponent of preserving essential city services within the city of Los Angeles, remaining focused that we preserve core city of Los Angeles services. Some of the things that came out of that budget were funding for tree trimming, which hasn't been funded in quite some time. We're very happy about that. There's also about 800 miles we maintained of street paving and debris and slurrying within the city of Los Angeles, and we should be getting a good chunk of that out here in Council District 12, and goodness knows we need it. We also, we heard a lot of comments from Glenn and some other people at many neighborhood council meetings, and I believe that the city council did fund the Congress of Neighborhoods and the Budget Advocates Day. So that was really as a result of comments that we heard from neighborhood councils that we communicated to the council, and he pushed so we could fund those within the city of Los Angeles budget. So I do want to thank you for all of your comments throughout the budget process, and it's been good moving into a new year with the restoration of quite a few city of Los Angeles services. I should also say that we did reallocate funding for libraries, and all of the regional libraries will be open 7 days a week. And we have one, Mid-Valley Library right there, which is just on, it's actually in North Hills, but it's just on the Granada Hills border. Will be open 7 days a week, and I believe some of our libraries will be getting some much needed new technology as a result of the budget. So yes, it's all good things. I did want to announce that we are having, I think Dan Coupe came to our last one, and it was very well attended, but we're having another census data for grant writers workshop. If you're a grant writer or you're interested in learning more about census data and how you can apply it towards grants for your organization, I encourage you to attend. It's a free workshop that our office hosts with the U.S. Census Bureau. It's on the 12th So that's Wednesday, next week at 10 a.m. We just need to RSVP with us because our room is always so big. But I think that the whirlwind of data that is available on the internet is really something that can be tapped in by many different people. So I encourage you, if you're interested in those types of issues, to attend it. We've been announcing for the last few weeks, but we are having a healthy living, a year of healthy living within the council office. And right now we have a Facebook page that's dedicated to pictures of healthy living. We're posting different pictures on our Facebook page. And the pictures that get the most likes are going to be printed up and on display in our community service center. So I encourage you, if you haven't submitted a healthy living picture, or if you know of a different community group that would like to get a little more involved and share what you're doing in your community to live healthily. It's beyond, don't necessarily take a picture of the salad that you're eating for lunch, but we've gotten some really lovely photos of people walking in Aliso Canyon Park, walking throughout the community, kids participating in their local school, or doing different cleanups throughout the community and making their community more healthy. So it's a very open kind of interpretation of healthy living, but we do just want to see people in the community giving back, and we know so many of you do that. We want to recognize you for that. So maybe I think the deadline for submissions is June 15th, but I know you're moving, it's coming up, and that might be another good option. I know it's on the 22nd, I believe, but you may be able to extend the deadline for some people. And then I did want to say, I don't think it was agendized this evening, but I will make an official ask for it to be agendized. At the last neighborhood council meeting, we talked a little bit about the bike lanes that were fly-by-night bike lanes that were going into White Oak that we put a hold on. We did talk a little bit about it at the last neighborhood council meeting, but what the council member has asked is that the neighborhood council agendize if they would like to see bike lanes going in that area or not.
It's already done.
It's already done.
Yeah,
It's
it's already
agendized?
done.
Completed.
No, the bike lanes have been completed.
The bike lanes are done.
Yeah, they've been completed.
Little Sharrows.
I was going to agendize it until they beat me to it by putting the bike
I
lanes
did
in.
not verify that. Did you know
Daylight,
when they
no,
were?
sure.
A week ago?
It's done with
Okay,
the
I'm gonna
temporary.
say, yeah, it's temporary striping now. Well, I would still ask the neighborhood council to
No, it's not
agendize it.
temporary.
That is the
Yeah.
epoxy, that is the epoxy stuff that's down. It's the permanent.
Well,
I think you have to
regardless.
sand it off.
I'm still gonna ask the neighborhood council to agendize it.
Okay.
We have been told, White Oak wasn't repaved, was it? No. Okay,
No.
we have been told that White Oak will be getting repaved in the next fiscal year. Don't get me started on
Perfect. Can you
DOT
like
not
tear up some
knowing what's going on.
pipelines while you're at it at the same time and save those over and go with the good time?
Right, now, to answer your question,
Say that again.
there's a 1-year moratorium. But anyways, White Oak should be getting repaved. What we had instructed DOT to do was to put down the temporary striping, but not of the bike lanes. We just asked them to put down temporary striping. I will let them know that they didn't do that. But to ask the neighborhood council to take a position on if they wanted the bike lanes there or not. If you guys want them, great. If you don't want them, we can take them out. It's just paint on streets. So those were put in as we discussed with DOT last month, that it was Measure R funded. But we really want to be sensitive to what the community would like to see in your area. I don't know that it was communicated. It was not communicated for DOT to go ahead and do that. So I would still ask for an agenda item.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Just on the question of striping the streets, I know Balboa has been
Yes.
repaved, but it hasn't been.
Yeah, it was repaved, I think, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, they
usually
still haven't
takes
striped
them
it.
about a month to put down the striping. From what I understand, the way the chemicals react, it doesn't allow for, the adhesive doesn't really stick very well. So it should be getting done within the next few weeks. It does take some time. I know in Rinaldi we had the same problem because that was repaved and it took a little while to get the striping done. But it usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks for the striping to go down.
Megan, just be aware that we do not have a July meeting. It'll
Okay.
fall on
That's
the 4th,
okay.
so it'll be at the August meeting.
That's, thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Unless you want to come by as the 4th of July.
I will not be here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, let's go to discussion and possible board action to extend the website maintenance, Aaron DeVandry, for 1 year. This would run from July 2013 to June 2014 at $200 per month. You have for this,
I move to approve the motion And $200 a month, is what we've been paying for the past 3 years. Anyway, do you have a second?
Yes.
Second by Eric. And now, discussion, $200 a month is basically, what we've been paying for the last 3 years, and he hasn't increased the price, or his price. I think he's done a good job. Let's see what else. I don't have anything else, it's for a year, so we always reconvene next year. Go ahead.
So I went on the website for the board, so is that the person that we submit our, profile to? Because I noticed it's only
Yes, yes.
3 of us, or no, I'm sorry, maybe 4 or 5 of us that have updated info, everybody
Yeah,
else.
I'd asked everyone at the beginning of the term to submit, but,
We just email it to you?
yeah, I can email it out now. Some people just start electing to put a picture out.
Yeah.
If you've got a good picture, you have hundreds. All right. Yeah, you just email it directly to Aaron.
Do we have to do it?
It's been copied in all the time. And he's also very proactive.
Yeah, just go under the contact us and email it to the webmaster. All right, is, any other discussion? All right, ready for a
Seeing
vote?
none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Anybody? Okay. Any abstentions? All right. Seeing none,
Motion is unanimous. All right, next we're gonna have a budget advocate report from Cindy Wu Friedman.
I'll just stand over here. Hello. So on behalf of the budget advocate, Glenn is also a budget advocate for Northwest Region here as well. So, so if you want to add anything, but we just wanted to report that basically, if you look over the whole entire year, we basically made 24 recommendations to the mayor and the city council's office. And over the years, 22 of the items has been adopted by the inspector general, which is hired by the city council. And at the, while the runoff for mayor was going on, every four mayor candidates actually talked a lot about all the items that we had suggested and made recommendations to the city council. And so on behalf of the budget advocate, we just wanted to thank my board, our board, or thank you guys, for continuing to support, for electing a budget representative and also for continuing to support budget advocates. And so hopefully, you guys will also, or we will do it again, next year as well. So, are there any questions?
Yeah, what were some of the items in 20?
The 22 that was adopted, I don't have it here with me. Do you know it off the top of your head, Glenn?
No, they're posted on the lanc.org website, lancc.org. For the white paper.
Mhm.
White paper recommendations.
Right, the white paper recommendations, yeah. And there will be we will be sending out a survey for budget advocates. So, a survey for budget advocates towards the end. I think it's going to be around September, October, and we will have another budget day. So hopefully, some of you will come out and get familiar with some of the white paper that we've been talking about. Any questions? Glenn, do you want to add anything?
It was great to work with Cindy. She really was very active. And also, I'd just like to thank this board because you helped support the regional budget day that we held in Van Nuys. That was the first time we were allowed to do the regional budget days out of downtown. And so thank you for helping to support that.
Thank you. It was great working with you too.
Cindy, thank you for the report, and thank you for acting as budget advocate. You've done a great job. All right, next on the items for action, discussion and possible board action to create an ad hoc committee to study and recommend neighborhood purpose grants during the fiscal year. Brad Smith asked to be put on the agenda last month, so I'll turn it over to you, sir. for a brief overview or idea of what you're looking for here.
Sure. Let's do that, just 'cause it's- I think we've all seen this issue come up year after year. Part of what the NC is about is trying to support more of the activities here in the community that make it a more attractive place to live. Over the years, we've supported schools, we've supported the library, we've supported the park, we've supported recreation programs. And it's always been kind of an ad hoc sort of thing. I think everybody would agree. It's basically if there's a problem, obviously when the libraries were being closed or when the schools were suffering, they would come to us. There's a couple things. One thing, and we've talked about it already tonight, if we are unable to find worthy causes to support, in essence, at the end of the year, part of the budget that has been provided to us goes back to the general fund. So it's a question of whether we see that as the best way to try and make something positive happen here in Vermont Hills or not. That's a question. The other question is there's kind of a fairness issue. 2 years ago, we made a conscious effort to do outreach to different institutions here in the community. And some of the schools that we contacted, for example, weren't aware that this was a possibility for them. Over the years, we've been, I think, fair. Anybody who's come here has had a hearing. What I think would be a good thing to do is if we set up an ad hoc committee with, my intent would be the obvious representatives from the subcommittees that generally get this sort of thing. Education, Parks and Rec, cultural affairs, obviously drag Brandon in since he's the financial person. And basically make a conscious effort between now and the end of the calendar year to go out and talk with all the public schools, with the library, with the rec center, with the youth type activities that we've talked about, that we saw with the basketball camp here at Granada, and say, we do have these resources. We'd like to hear what you have to offer and make sure that no one feels left out or not informed. And obviously, if we make an effort to put the word out, it'll take some time. We'll probably have to spend a little more time listening to what people ask for and what they request, but I think it's a worthwhile effort. It's decent stewardship of these resources we've been entrusted with. And it also, I think, makes it clear that we're trying to reach out to all the appropriate institutions here in the community. So, having said that, unless we need further discussion, I guess I'd like to ask for a ad hoc committee to be appointed. And
We'll need a motion in a second.
Okay.
The board have to vote on it, then we can.
all right, I'd like to make this motion then. That we create an ad hoc committee on the neighborhood purpose grant